Hey guys, it's Cori coming to you from Sydney, Australia, where I've been for about a week now. It's been amazing so far. The time has really been flying by. I haven't seen any kangaroos yet, but I've been on the lookout. I'm here in my friend Mike's apartment, where he's graciously allowed me to stay. You can see my backpack over there. So I thought I would film a yoga video for you. This one's just going to be a pretty basic hip opening and full body stretch and strengthen sequence. So I hope you enjoy it and that you decide to join me. We'll get started at the top of the mat. Give yourself a few moments to get settled in at the top of your mat. Look down at your feet and make sure the sides of the feet are parallel to each other. And then pick up your toes, spread them out a little bit, and press them back down. Sometimes I like to press them one at a time, starting from the pinky toes moving inward. Stand up a little bit taller. Roll your shoulders back. And just pay attention to where you place the weight in your feet. If it's sinking back into your heels or more toward the balls of your feet, you want to get it distributed evenly between the two. Yeah. And then lengthen the crown of your head up towards the sky. Roll the palms a little bit so they face forward and your heart and your chest begin to open. And then settle your eyes closed. And feel yourself rooting down through your feet. Strengthening through your legs so you lift up the kneecaps a little bit from your thighs. Growing up out of your waist, lengthening through both sides of your torso. And we'll take the palms together in front of your heart. And feel your thumb knuckles press into the center of your chest. And spread the fingers away from each other so you feel a little activity in your hands as you press them together. And take a deep breath in here through your nose. Exhale, let it go out your mouth. And take another one like that. Inhale, feel your chest rise a little bit as you breathe in. Exhale out your mouth. Feel your energy rooting down into the earth, making you strong and stable. And then you'll start to breathe in and out through your nose. And take about 3 more deep breaths here. And start to bring your attention here into your body and onto your mat. Then let your arms come down by your sides. Reach your fingers down toward the floor. Open up your eyes. We'll take a couple of easy sun salutations here to get started. Use an inhale to reach your arms out and up overhead. Grow tall. Palms might come together to touch at the top. On your exhale, hinge at your hips. Fold forward. And let your neck relax as you come down. On an inhale, rise up about halfway, flatten out your back, reach your heart forward. And then plant your palms, step one foot back and then the other will come into a high plank pose. Hold it here for a couple breaths. Make sure your pointer fingers are pointing straight forward and you turn them out a little bit. You can come up high on the balls of your feet and feel your quadriceps engage. Take an inhale, reach your heart a little bit forward and look in front of your hands. And then on your exhale, come all the way down onto your belly. So for the first one, we'll take the knees down, keep your belly nice and tight, elbows in tight toward your body, and lower all the way down to the floor. Untuck your toes back behind you, press them down into the mat and firm your thighs. Inhale, reach your heart forward, elbows back for a low cobra. You might even take your hands up off the mat to make sure the lift is coming from the muscles in your back. Exhale, lower down. And tuck your toes under. We'll press up through hands and knees for the first round. We'll make it to a downward facing dog. Have your feet about hips distance apart, heels reaching toward the ground. And feel free to bend your knees at first as you stretch your sitting bones up and back to lengthen through the sides of your waist. Yeah. And then same thing with your hands. You'll have the pointer straight forward or a little turned out, especially if you have any wrist issues. Push down through your palms and your knuckles where the fingers attach to your hands. And let your neck relax. So I like to nod my head up and down a little bit here. On your next breath in, rise up to the balls of your feet. Take a step forward and then bring the other foot up to meet it. Inhale, halfway lift up. Exhale, fold yourself down. Legs can be straight or knees can be a little bit bent. And then press down into your feet, reach your arms out and up. We'll come all the way up to standing arms high up overhead, maybe palms together. Exhale, hands back through heart center and down by your sides. We'll take another one just like that. Inhale, arms reach out and up. Maybe gaze up toward your fingers this time. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Lean your heart forward, hug your belly in, come all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift to a flat back, reach your heart forward. Exhale, plant your hands, try to step back with the opposite foot this time, come to your high plank. And then second round, you can keep the knees lifted if you like. We'll still come all the way down to your belly. Keep the elbows nice and tight, belly hugging in. Coming down in one straight line. Untuck your toes, press the tops of the feet down. Inhale, heart forward, shoulders pull back. Spread wide across your collarbones. Firm your thighs, feel the kneecaps lift up. Exhale, lower. We're going to do that one more time. So inhale for your cobra. And if you like to practice upward facing dog, or if you feel warm in your back and you want to try it, press down into your hands, straighten out your arms, and really push into the tops of your feet so that your legs, your thighs lift up. Inhale, spread the collarbones, roll the shoulders back. Exhale, come to your downward facing dog. And take a couple breaths here just to check in with it. I usually keep a bend in my knees for the first few, so keep the bend if you need it, so that you can flatten out your lower back, you don't feel any pain there or any extra rounding. And it helps you start to open up your hamstrings. And take your gaze, look back between your feet or up even between your thighs. And take an inhale, rise up to the balls of your feet. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward. Take a big step, or you could even hop your way up there, however you like to get your feet there. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, lift halfway. Exhale, fold down. You'll press into the feet, you'll come all the way up to standing, reach the arms high and up overhead. And then exhale, bring the hands through your heart and take them down by your sides. From here, you're set up into a yogi squat. So take your feet at least hips distance apart. Everyone's going to look a little bit different. I like to take my toes a little bit out, heels a little bit in. You might have to take your feet a little bit wider, just depending on how wide your hips are. And then you'll come down into a squat. So take your arms forward, start to bend into your knees. Some people might stop up here, especially if you have any knee issues. Some people might bring the heels all the way down. So you do what works for you, and if you feel any pain in your knees, just come up a little bit higher. Once you get there, try to wedge your ribs in between your thighs. And you can even press into your legs with your elbows, press into your elbows with your legs so that you feel a little resistance as you begin to open up the hips. Take your heart forward, try to lengthen your tailbone down towards the floor. And if the heels can be on the ground, that's nice. If they can't, don't worry about it, just listen to your knees. And then you'll begin to take your hands down to the floor. You'll straighten out through the legs as much as you can and bring the sides of the feet parallel again, feet about hips distance. Let your belly travel down your thighs. So try to creep your belly button, your ribs a little bit forward, closer towards your knees. Let your head and your neck relax as much as you can. And then here you could let the arms dangle down. You could grab opposite elbows, or you might even take your fingers, peace sign fingers, hook them around your big toes and give yourself a little bit of leverage as you bend your elbows and pull them out wide. And take another inhale through your nose here. Exhale, release the breath. And then release your toes or your elbows if you have it. We'll round the spine this time, bend the knees a little deeper. We'll come all the way up to standing as long as that feels good in your back. Let your head and your neck be the last things to unravel. Yeah. And then you'll bring your feet back closer to each other. Big toes touching, heels might be a little bit apart. On your inhale, we'll sit down into a chair pose. So sink your hips down low, reach your arms high and up overhead, and you could even bring your palms together to touch if it feels okay in your shoulders. Inhale, hug your belly and your low ribs in. Exhale, forward fold, take your belly down towards your thighs. Inhale, rise up halfway. And then on your exhale, step your right foot to the back. And I like to separate my feet a little bit so they're hips distance apart. We're going to do a hip opening stretch here. So fingertips could be on the floor or palms down on the floor. And then try to keep your hips low. On your inhale, you'll tap your back knee down towards the ground. On your exhale, you'll straighten out the back leg. Yeah. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, straighten it back out, and you might feel like your hips want to go up and down, but you're kind of resisting the stretch that way. So try to keep them nice and low, and you'll feel more opening in your hip flexor. So take about 4 or 5 rounds on this side. And after your last one, take your back knee all the way down to the floor, untuck your back toes, and crawl your hands up onto your front thigh. Yeah, interlace them on top of it, and like you're stretching the skin of your thigh away from it, resist that by plugging the left hip back and in toward its hip socket. You might stay up here. Whatever you do, keep your chest high, but let your hips sink down a little bit lower. You can lunge into it if that feels good. And keep the front ribs hugging in, back ribs lifting up. And then keep drawing back and in through that left hip. And take another inhale breath here. On your exhale, undo the clasp of your hands. Take your fingertips or your hands down toward the floor. Tuck your back toes under and lift the back knee. And then stretch your back heel all the way down towards the floor so your foot starts to spin out at about 45 degrees. You'll press down into both heels. Reach the arms high and up overhead, and we'll find warrior one here. Yeah. So take your left hand down onto your left hip. Give it a little reminder to pull it back and in. You're trying to work both hips so they're facing the front of your mat. They might not go there today, that's okay. Take the bend in your left knee right over your ankle, and then press down through the outer edge of your back foot. Inhale, take both arms up high. Exhale, hands come down to frame your front foot. Step back to plank pose. And this time, if you want to take chaturanga, you could lower halfway or come to your belly. Inhale, slide forward, find your cobra or your upward dog. Exhale, work your way back into downward facing dog. And take 2 more breaths here. And try to find that length through the sides of the waist. Sitting bones reaching up and back. Heels reaching down towards the floor. Inhale, rise to the balls of the feet. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward. Take a step, hop or walk your way to the front. Inhale, lengthen your spine. And on an exhale, fold. We'll root down into the feet. Take the arms all the way up high and up overhead. And then palms could be together or stay up by your ears. Sink back down to your chair pose, Utkatasana. Inhale, stretch from your tailbone out through your fingertips. And then exhale, take your hands down to the mat, fold. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, take palms or fingers to the ground. Step your left foot all the way back. And separate your feet a little bit if you like to. And we'll find that same hip opening stretch on this side. So inhale, bend into your knee, keep the hips down low. Exhale, straighten out through the back leg, try to firm into your quad. Inhale, lowers it down to tap. Exhale, let it lift. And take about 2 or 3 more at your own pace, moving with your breath. And then after your last one, you'll set the back knee down on the ground, untuck your back toes, climb your hands up onto your thigh. Interlace the opposite finger on top this time if you remember. Stretch the skin of your thigh away from your body. Try to straighten out your arms as much as you can. And then pull your right hip in the opposite direction like you're trying to stretch out your femur bone. Yeah. Stay here if you like to. If you want a little bit more stretch opening in your hips, keep the chest high, but let the hips sink a little bit lower. You'll feel it more in the front of your left hip. And try to keep the belly off the front thigh. Lots of weight pressing into your right heel. On your next inhale, come back up out of it. Undo the clasp of your hands, take them down to the mat. Tuck your back toes under and lift the back knee. And then stretch your left heel all the way down towards the floor. Press into both feet, rise up. We'll find warrior one right here. And then you'll take your right hand down to your right hip. Plug it back and in. Try to square off your hips to the front if they go there. If not, it's okay. And get really long from your left heel all the way out to your left fingertips. Yeah, keep rooting down firmly into both heels. Bring the right arm up high to meet the left. Take an inhale here. Exhale, palms come down to the mat. And step back to plank pose here. Lower halfway or all the way down. Inhale, heart reaches forward. Find your back bend, your heart opener of choice. Exhale, come back to your downward facing dog. And take 2 more breaths here. And pay attention to your arms in this round of downward facing dog. Can you spin your outer triceps down toward the floor, making a little bit more space for your neck. So you relax the inside of your shoulder blades and let the outside of your shoulder blades stretch long. Inhale, rise up onto the balls of your feet. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward, walk, step, or hop your way up there. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. And press down into the feet. Rise all the way up, reach the arms high. Exhale, hands come back to heart center. And you can take them down by your sides. Then on an inhale, we'll come back to Utkatasana. You'll sit your hips low, stretch your arms high. Get long through your torso and create a little space between your ribs. On an exhale, fold your belly down and then begin to straighten your legs. Inhale, lengthen, rise halfway. Exhale, plant your hands, step back into your plank pose. And take your flow here if you like. You can always skip it and head straight to downward dog. That's where we'll meet. Then you'll spin your left heel down towards the ground like you're setting up that warrior 1 back leg. Step your right foot forward. You might go all the way there. You might need a couple extra steps. Plug your right hip in. Reach the arms high. Come up into warrior 1. Take an extra breath here. Firm your back leg. Press that heel down into the mat and feel the little hip opening there. Reach your fingers high. Grow up out of your waist. Exhale, hands come down. And try to lift your right foot without sliding it on your mat. Lower halfway or all the way. Inhale, find your heart opener. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. And then spin your right heel down towards the mat. Step your left foot forward. And get it up there so you can root down through both heels. Plug your left hip in. Rise up, warrior 1 on the second side. Root that outside edge of your back heel down so that you can lift up through that inner arch. And feel the hip opening that's going on here as you strengthen through your back leg. Inhale, reach high up out of your waist. Exhale, hands come down. Push down into your palms to lift that left foot up and step it back. Lower halfway or all the way down. Inhale, collarbone spread, press into the feet. Exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Take an inhale breath here. Stay for your exhale. And take another breath here, in through your nose. Exhale, right back out your nose. Inhale, stretch the heels high. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward. Bring your feet up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold in Uttanasana. Take your hips down low, thighs working their way parallel to the ground, arms come up by your ears. Then root down into the heels, rise all the way up. And let your hands come down to heart center. We'll step out to face the right side of your mat. Spread your arms wide so they're parallel with the floor. Then spin on your right heel so your whole right leg and right toes come to face the right side of your mat. Spin on your back heel so the back toes come in a little bit. You want the heels to be in line with each other. You'll start to reach your right fingers forward, left hip reaches back, and then let your torso lengthen as you lower your right hand down onto your shin, or it could come to your ankle. You could grab hold of the big toe or place your fingers on the outside of your foot. So lots of options, but give yourself space to open up. And then if it feels okay on your neck, turn your gaze to face up towards your top hand. And press down into the ball of your front foot and start to lift up through your right kneecap, right quadricep. And take another breath in here in Trikonasana. Then press your both feet, rise all the way up to standing, arms come back parallel to the floor. I set my feet a little bit wider, so we're setting up for Parsva Konasana or side angle. Start to bend into your front knee, set it right over the ankle in the front, lots of weight in the heel. And then you'll take your elbow down onto your front thigh. Left arm starts to reach up and over your ear, palm spins down towards the floor. Yeah. And then just like in our warrior pose, start to root down through the outer edge of the back foot, lift up through the back arch so that leg is really strong, and that assists with your hip opening here. And let the shoulders travel down away from the ears. I always have to remind myself that. And then press into both feet, rise up to standing. Straighten out through the front leg. And turn both toes out and both heels in a little bit. You could take your hands down to your waist or rest them on your thighs. Start to bend into your knees. And we'll take goddess pose here. So arms can stay anywhere that you like. Make sure the sitting bones are reaching down towards the floor. Crown of the head lengthening up so you're not sinking into your chest. And then just feel what's going on in your hips. Notice if there's any resistance to being here in this pose. Make sure your knees are about tracking over your second toes, that they're not coming too far in or too far out. And take another breath here. And we'll stay for your exhale. Maybe you sink a little lower. Inhale, straighten out through both legs. Spin on your back heel so the back toes turn it a little bit. Make sure the left leg spins so the toes are facing all the way out. Then take your arms up parallel to the ground. Reach your right hip back, left fingers forward. You'll lower your left hand down onto your shin, ankle, or to the outside of the foot, or feel free to grab your big toe. And then right arm reaches high towards the sky. And spin your chest open, rotating the torso a little bit so you can gaze up towards your top hand. Yeah. And feel how that left leg is spinning out a little bit, facilitating even more hip opening on the left side. And press down into the feet to come up to standing. I make my feet a little bit wider, you might not have to. Sink down into your front knee, working that thigh towards parallel to the ground. And then take your left elbow onto your side, onto your thigh. Lengthen through both sides of your torso, reach the right arm up and overhead. Palm spins down towards the floor. Relax the shoulders down your back. And then really root the outer edge of the right foot down, lift up through your right arch. And feel the hip opening that's going on here. And breathe down into that space that you're creating. And press down into the feet. We'll come up out of it. Straighten out through your front leg. Spin both heels in, both toes out again. This time bring your hands down to your knees as you sink back into goddess. Inhale, open up through the chest. Reach the sitting bones down toward the floor. We'll let the right shoulder dip into the center. Look out over your back shoulder. Inhale, come up through the middle. Exhale, left shoulder dips in. Gaze out over your right shoulder. One more time to each side. Yeah, and here you can use your hands to start to encourage your knees to track over your second toe and keep them from collapsing in toward each other. Inhale, come up through the center, straighten out the legs. Step to the front of your mat with the feet together. Then, however feels comfortable for you, you'll come down to a seat. You can use your hands to assist you. Straighten both legs straight out in front of you. Then draw your right knee in and give it a squeeze in towards your chest. Keep that squeezing action going, so between the back of the calf and through your right thigh. And then keep that engaged, keep the foot flexed as you rotate the right knee out to the side. Left leg stays straight and active. You might have to readjust to situate your sitting bones down into the floor. Inhale, lengthen through your spine. And as you exhale, you'll fold forward, creeping your belly along your thigh. You might grab hold of the foot here. You don't have to, it's optional. And you'll keep the top of your head reaching toward your big toe. And take your mind to the sensations in your right hip. Can you direct the breath down there to get even more hip opening on that side? On an inhale, look forward towards your big toe. On your exhale, rise back up. Take the knee up through center and then straighten out the right leg. Yeah. Draw your left knee in and give it a squeeze. So you're squeezing your left heel in toward your left sitting bone. And keep that energy, that leg squeezing together, folded. Flex through the left toes and rotate your left leg out to the left. Your left knee, sorry. And you can always pad underneath the knee if it's pretty elevated and needs something extra to hold it up. Inhale, flex your right toes, lengthen the spine. Exhale, keep that leg active as you fold forward, creeping your belly along your thigh. Grab the foot if you like, but let the neck stay relaxed. Inhale, gaze forward at your foot. Exhale, rise back up to a seat. Take your left knee up through center and then straighten out the left leg. Have your feet in together. Pull any flesh out of the way of your sitting bones. I always have to. And then engage your thighs so your legs are really active, feet are really flexed. Inhale here. Try to keep your lower back flat as you creep your belly forward on your thighs. So hug your belly in, like you feel your ribs climbing their way toward your toes. And here you could grab hold of the outside edges of the feet, or you could just let your arms relax and let your legs and your belly do the work. And let your neck relax as much as you can. And if you're all the way forward, just let your neck relax, your head comes down toward your legs. Inhale, take your gaze up towards your toes. Exhale, let yourself release. And bend both knees in this time. Let them come apart from each other. And start to spin the bottoms of your feet up towards the sky. Yeah, so setting up for Baddha Konasana. You'll open your feet like you're reading a book. Inhale, sit up tall. For the first round, come forward with a flat back. So you could use your elbows to encourage the legs a little bit wider. And keep your sitting bones rooting down, heart nice and open. And let your breath be slow and steady. Next, inhale, rise up. And this time you'll let your back round. You'll reach your nose down towards the bottoms of your feet. And let your spine round a little bit. Let yourself relax into it. And then inhale, lift the head and the chest up. Exhale, close your legs up like you're closing off a book. You'll keep the knees bent. Grab hold of the backs of the hamstrings as you roll all the way down onto your back. And take your right knee, draw it in toward your chest like we did when we were seated. Squeeze your right heel toward your right glute. And then keep that connection. Keep flexing your foot as you rotate the knee toward the outside. Yeah, you'll cross that ankle over your left thigh. You might stay here. You might already feel enough hip opening, or you could reach one hand between the legs, one around the outside, and draw the knees in toward your chest. And try to keep some activity in both feet, especially in the right one, flexing. And then you'll release the hands, set the left foot back down on your mat, uncross the right leg, and bring that foot down towards the floor. Hug your left knee in toward your chest, squeeze the left heel toward the left glute. Keep that connection, flex the left toes hard as you rotate the knee towards the outside. Yeah, and you just see the natural openness in your hip, or natural mobility in your hip. That's happening without you having to grab hold of the foot or help work into it. And stay here, this might feel good to you. Or reach one hand between the legs, one hand wraps around. You could grab for the outside of the shin or the back of the thigh. And let your head, your shoulders, everything else relax. And just pay attention to where you're feeling in your hip. Undo the clasp of the hands. Set the right foot down and cross the left foot. This time gather both knees up in toward your chest. Give them a tight squeeze in. And keep the action of the legs hugging in toward your chest. Try to stretch your tailbone and your sacrum down towards the floor. So you should feel a little bit of resistance in the hip joint. You're growing your legs a little bit longer and trying to flatten out your back on the ground. Then let your arms release the legs. We'll take the knees nice and wide, bottoms of the feet together. We'll take our Shavasana like this. You can feel free to straighten out the legs whenever you need to. But roll the shoulders together underneath your back. Let the palms spin up towards the sky and get comfortable here. Yeah. And try to hold it in Supta Baddha Konasana, this pose, for as long as you can. But we're obviously wanting to bring our minds into a nice and relaxed state. So if you need to straighten out the legs, that's totally fine too. And start to release any control over your breath. Let your body relax and sink into it. And enjoy your Shavasana. We'll begin to bring your attention back to your breath, back onto your mat. Wiggle your fingers a little bit. And take your thumb, run it across all of your other fingers. Just bring some sensations back into the hand. And reach your hands down, close your legs up like you're closing that same book. And step your feet as wide as your mat and just let the knees windshield wiper a couple times. And once they get back over to the right side, let yourself roll all the way there. And then press your left palm down to pick yourself up into a seat. Re-root down through your sitting bones, lengthen through the spine. And keep your eyes closed or your gaze softly down on your mat. Take your hands together in front of your heart. And we'll take an inhale here together, wherever you are, whatever side of the world that you're on. Exhale, let it go. And draw your thumb knuckles right up in between your eyebrows, and we'll say to each other, Namaste. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the practice and that it gets you feeling a little bit more open in your hips. Let me know, as usual, if you have any requests or any questions or comments. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste.